He's a stone-cold liar. I respect the presidency. I've tried to have an open hand with him, tried to work with him. You can't work with Donald Trump. You can only work for him. And I will not. I refuse to work for Donald Trump.
They don't have any faith in Gavin Newsom.
The most corrupt president in history.
This is kind of funny because he wants to be president so bad.
I wasn't exaggerating when I said that I received in the mail a Trump 2028 hat from one of his biggest supporters. These guys are not screwing around.
California is in serious trouble right now. And no, this time it's not about the Hollywood Hills. Roads are breaking apart, wildfires are spreading fast, leaders are under pressure, and somewhere in Sacramento, Gavin Newsom is likely thinking about how to remain in the spotlight. Then along comes Joe Rogan. Yes, the guy known for jumping straight into wild situations with nonstop energy, turning almost any headline into a jaw-dropping podcast conversation. So what exactly did he say this time? Did he go completely overboard? Or did he share a bold truth that others were too careful to mention? Buckle up, because what happens next might surprise you.
The Los Angeles Times Panera would not be exempt from the law. The spokesperson also denied a claim, the Bloomberg piece, which cited sources close to the matter that Newsom pushed for an exemption that applies to businesses that bake bread and sell it as a standalone item, calling the report absurd. So is it a fake story?
Or is it something that they
might have corrected
course quickly? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, roll up to the top. So where's the initial report? Let's find the initial report.
A representative reportedly told Los Angeles Times that Panera Bread would still have to follow the law. The same spokesperson also pushed back against claims that Gavin Newsom backed a special exemption for businesses that bake bread and sell it on its own. They even labeled the report from Bloomberg as ridiculous. That article, however, pointed to several sources it said supported the claim. So does that mean the story isn't true at all? Or has the situation started to head in a strange direction? Maybe, but to really understand what's going on, it helps to go back to the very beginning. So where did this claim first appear? Let's rewind and track down the original report to see how it all started.
Why would Bloomberg spread bullshit? Bloomberg is a financial paper, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's not something...
I don't think it would be.
You really can't do that if you're running a financial paper. It's not like the New York Times. The New York Times can say Israel bombed the hospital and 500 people were killed and put it on the front page, even if it's not true. And everybody just assumes it's true because it's the New York Times. But they can kind of get away with that.
Yeah.
And then they still exist.
If you're having a good time so far, remember to hit that subscribe button on the channel. You might be amazed at how much it helps support the content. Once again, California is dealing with serious trouble. Not in an over-the-top way and not like another viral celebrity moment online. Instead, Gavin Newsom is holding a press conference that feels oddly calm, almost like a relaxed gathering, while real flames and thick smoke continue to cause problems. Meanwhile, Joe Rogan chooses this exact moment to speak up and share his take, grabbing the spotlight with his usual burst of energy and sharp reasoning, as if fueled by strong coffee and confidence.
They'll speculate that you're waiting in the wings to run for president. I know it's not going to happen. You know it's not going to happen. But what do you think is fueling that speculation?
I don't know. I don't think much anymore. And I'm so proud of the president and the incredible job he did. It didn't surprise me at all. And I know it didn't surprise you. I really believe that. I said to my friend the other day, I said, you know, I'm this age and we can get into debates around fitness. Look, I'd rather have 80 years behind me than those 88 federal criminal counts.
And by stepping right into the situation, I mean he wastes no time switching into full roast mode, focusing on the political drama, the chaos, and how ridiculous it all appears. Picture California like a high-end sports car. The media can't stop watching it. Visitors still flock to see it. And from the outside, it looks sleek and impressive. But once you lift the hood, the reality tells a different story. The brakes are barely holding up. Oil is dripping where it shouldn't. Smoke keeps pouring out. And the engine sounds like it's pleading for a break.
There must be something to it. And it's so hard with that guy. Because when you just look at the way he praised Biden, I would never run against him. A man of character. You know, like I'm old school. It's God. It's like he's playing someone in a movie that's a crazy person. It's like that's how like a really good actor would play a complete crazy person who's insincere enough that smart people recognize.
When Joe Rogan looks at this so-called car, he doesn't just stand there shaking his head. Instead, he acts like he's taking charge, pulling the keys away, grabbing the manual from Gavin Newsom, and loudly calling out every burnt wire and busted part he can spot. In his view, this isn't simply poor leadership. It feels more like a full-blown comedy routine, complete with potholes, wildfire smoke, and the governor's determined effort to keep his name in the headlines. Joe Rogan sticks to his usual style. He doesn't stay quiet, and he definitely doesn't offer gentle approval of new policies. Instead, he breaks everything down like he's inspecting an oversized burrito that's been packed too full, stuffed with layers of bureaucracy, complicated political talk, and, of course, a dash of ego. On top of that, there are roads split apart like ancient stone paths, bridges that seem to wobble when the wind picks up, and a state budget that feels as mysterious as if it were written with invisible ink while someone watched endless cat videos. Joe can almost be imagined shaking his head, probably saying something about how California still carries the title of paradise even while fire trucks crawl through heavy traffic on the 405. Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom comes across like someone trying to patch up a ship that's already taking on water, all while the scent of smashed avocado toast mixes with worries about a shaky housing market and the smoky air from burning eucalyptus trees. Still, it's not entirely dark and hopeless, largely because Rogan has a knack for turning tense moments into humor. He shines a light on the strange reality of leaders pushing new rules in a place where some homes run on solar panels, others behave as if they're ready to spark flames at any moment, and internet signals seem to vanish the second wildfire smoke drifts a few miles closer.
You can't ruin a city and then go on to ruin a state and say, guys, that was just practice. Once I get it as president, I'm going to fix it.
Wake up, America. Wake up. You will not have a country if he rigs this election. It's a lawless president. Wake up, America. Wake up to what's going on.
He's such a great politician. I mean,
No,
he's
he's
so
not.
smooth.
He's terrible. He's a good artist.
Well, I think it's pretty sick and pathetic. Everything you know about Donald Trump's America, and that was top down, you know that for a fact. Everything you know about the authoritarian tendencies of the president.
He even compares meetings in Sacramento to someone trying to solve a Rubik's Cube during a raging storm, blindfolded and somehow keeping flaming torches in the air at the same time. Oddly enough, the image works. It makes you laugh, yet it also makes you imagine calling in a firefighter who happens to be great at math. Then there's the housing situation, and Joe Rogan doesn't avoid that topic either. He moves straight toward it like someone spotting chaos from across the room. Leaders keep announcing solutions while cruising around in Tesla cars set to autopilot, slipping past responsibility as smoothly as traffic flowing downhill. Meanwhile, rent prices keep climbing higher, more people end up living in tents, and large homes sit empty without anyone inside. Joe picks the issue apart with sharp irony that feels strong enough to echo across the California coastline. No matter what officials might say, he doesn't make the numbers sound softer than they are. Instead, he compares California to a Silicon Valley startup that spent all its early funding on kombucha drinks and yoga retreats. Before long, the investors quietly slipped away while the servers overheated in the background. He also jokes about tax rules that look as confusing as ancient symbols and about small businesses paying more in permits than what a Hollywood movie might spend feeding its crew. People are still expected to cheer even as someone creates an app that delivers kale smoothies faster than you can say budget deficit. And when he sums it up, he fires off lines like, "You've got the highest of this and the highest of that," making his point with humor that sticks in your mind.
Things that he says when he gets confronted with it. We're the highest this and the highest that. Like, everybody's leaving.
You will have a president who will be running for a third term. Mark my word.
You have the highest unemployment. You have the highest homelessness.
Doesn't believe in free enterprise, crony capitalism. He is wrecking this country, wrecking the economy.
I love Hollywood. Like, Hollywood doesn't exist anymore.
Comedy and disbelief blend together perfectly in the way Joe Rogan delivers his remarks, turning heavy situations into moments that still manage to make people chuckle. Naturally, he also takes aim at the public image of Gavin Newsom. In Rogan's telling, that image feels like pure illusion, confident, polished, and always ready for the spotlight. While Gavin appears on television discussing ongoing plans, Rogan paints a picture of him stumbling over a pothole while gripping a microphone, unaware that the hole has quietly turned into something far bigger. That sharp contrast is what gives the humor its punch. Rogan doesn't just tease him as a leader, he transforms him into a character in a strange imaginary show about what happens when things go wrong at the top. In this imagined setting, it feels like everyone has a trust fund, a surfboard, and a pact emergency bag ready for wildfire season. Right in the middle of the chaos, he pictures Newsom calmly announcing, "We're making progress," while casually sipping a glass of Pinot Noir. Meanwhile, fire trucks circle nearby, almost as if no one ever opened the emergency guidebook. Through it all, Rogan keeps the jokes coming, making it feel like a reality show is still rolling even as California faces serious trouble.
They're hanging their hat on is his social media campaign where he talks like Trump.
It's no longer the rule of law. It's increasingly the rule of done.
So he's got a bunch of people from his organization that tweet for him, and they tweet like Trump, and they're saying this has elevated him in the public's eye. That's terrifying.
You've seen it across the board. People are scared to death of this guy.
He's starting to learn the internet sensibility.
It's the appalling silence. It's the complicity. You're seeing the most successful, wealthiest people scared to death of this guy.
Which is heavily trolling, does very well. What he has is...
Next is the public's reaction. Rogan highlights the disparity between official declarations and people's actual experiences. Politicians are releasing press releases that sound like they were produced by artificial intelligence that was only trained on motivational sayings. Landlords are raising rent, people are stuck in traffic, and smoke is in the air. Joe Rogan doesn't hold back. He approaches it as if it were a humorous sketch that had somehow come to life. After it's all over, you're laughing, a little uncomfortable, and oddly thinking that Joe should be his state's governor, or at the very least host a podcast about crisis states. There is the chaos of emergency services, law enforcement, and bureaucracy trying to coordinate in the middle of it all. Every jab is piercing. Every exaggeration still has resonance. But beneath the humor, there's a clear edge. The reality that a state fights to maintain its good name, while its infrastructure keeps getting worse. And then there's the tech sector, which is essential to California's ability to serve as a global center for innovation, while the rest of the state overheats. Rogan doesn't ignore it. He envisions a Silicon Valley boardroom where servers break down, engineers discuss life decisions in silence over oat milk lattes, and the emergency plan is to tweet a motivational quote. He even compares meetings in Sacramento to someone trying to solve a Rubik's Cube during a raging storm, blindfolded and somehow keeping flaming torches in the air at the same time. Oddly enough, the image works. It makes you laugh, yet it also makes you imagine calling in a firefighter who happens to be great at math.
Which means it was preventable. You certainly prevent them from raging into the tragedy that they became.
Because that was a few months ago. People have short memories. They go, that tweet was fun. He did a post on X that was fun, and it doesn't matter that they let all the criminals out of California.
That was grotesque mismanagement. That could have been prevented. You can't prevent hurricanes, can't prevent floods, but you certainly can try and start reducing the moral hazard that we've allowed to explode, quite honestly.
He's bad. The people go so much further than him.
The dozens of people who've lost their lives, the hundreds of billions of dollars worth of property damage.
That's how bad the Democratic Party is.
Then there's the housing situation, and Joe Rogan doesn't avoid that topic either. He moves straight toward it like someone spotting chaos from across the room. Leaders keep announcing solutions while cruising around in Tesla cars set to autopilot, slipping past responsibility as smoothly as traffic flowing downhill. Meanwhile, rent prices keep climbing higher, more people end up living in tents, and large homes sit empty without anyone inside. Joe picks the issue apart with sharp irony that feels strong enough to echo across the California coastline. No matter what officials might say, he doesn't make the numbers sound softer than they are. Instead, he compares California to a Silicon Valley startup that spent all its early funding on kombucha drinks and yoga retreats. Before long, the investors quietly slipped away while the servers overheated in the background. He also jokes about tax rules that look as confusing as ancient symbols, and about small businesses paying more in permits than what a Hollywood movie might spend feeding its crew. People are still expected to cheer, even as someone creates an app that delivers kale smoothies faster than you can say, budget deficit. And when he sums it up, he fires off lines like, "You've got the highest of this and the highest of that," making his point with humor that sticks in your mind.
Like, I'm very big on California, very bullish on California. California has all this industry. Hey, fucko, they're all thinking about moving. The only reason why they don't move is because it's too difficult to move. If it was like every business could instantly pull up roots and replace everything and have everything running in a week at the other place, they'd all be.
He observes as Newsom passes by, praising each new invention with grace. For instance, a straightforward app that tells you when to water your bonsai tree might be able to revive it. Despite the near surreal absurdity, Rogan delivers it like a comedy sniper. One piercing, sardonic shot after another. The green energy movement comes next. Every roof has solar panels installed, electric vehicles soar over potholes big enough to swallow a small sedan, and the power grid somehow behaves like a drunken toddler trying to solve a Rubik's Cube. Rogan maximizes the irony. It's so sustainable that you can't even charge your phone while running from a wildfire. Excellent work. Of course, it's California, the place that is both a paradise and a catastrophe. It's a weird game show, according to Rogan. Contestants are paying outrageous rent for tiny apartments with paper-thin walls, while opulent high-rises remain empty, waiting for a billionaire to post a picture of the minimalist kitchen on Instagram. He even mocks the idea that laws alone can address the issue, as though passing legislation were a miracle. Newsom is seen in the background waving a pen like a wand in the hopes that it will somehow lead to the appearance of affordable housing.
It's too expensive. It's too expensive to leave versus what you would save and the regulations that you wouldn't have to go through and all the bullshit with all the permits and all that. What California does is overregulate everything. They get as much government involved as possible, as much tax money out of you as possible, and then they still leave the place a mess. They still have homeless people everywhere. It's still a disaster. It's still a woke shit show of virtue signaling at every level of the government. Still. Like, no course correction at all. They're going further and further into la-la land. And you're like, Jesus Christ.
He watches as Gavin Newsom moves through the scene, praising every new idea with a calm, confident tone. Even something as simple as an app that reminds you when to water a bonsai tree is treated like it could somehow fix bigger problems. Joe Rogan presents it all with sharp, fast humor, like a comedy sniper, firing off one sarcastic observation after another. The irony grows stronger when the focus shifts to green energy. Roofs are covered in solar panels, electric cars glide over roads filled with potholes large enough to swallow a small vehicle, and the power grid is portrayed as barely holding itself together, like it's struggling to stay balanced. The result feels so eco-friendly that, in the middle of wildfire evacuations, even something as basic as charging a phone becomes uncertain. He frames California as both a dream and a mess at the same time, almost like a strange game show where people compete for survival. Rent keeps rising for tiny apartments with paper-thin walls, while expensive high-rise buildings sit empty, waiting for someone wealthy enough to post about them online. He also questions the belief that laws alone can solve everything, as if new rules instantly create real change. In the background of this picture, Gavin Newsom is imagined waving a pen like it's a magic wand, hoping it will suddenly produce affordable housing out of nowhere.
The governor gave this creepy speech where he was talking about speculators coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt out.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties.
While it's still only 6% contained, and he did this little dance like, I've been talking with the governor of Hawaii about what to do. We got some ideas. The speculator, we're going to have some.
You can almost imagine a city packed with frustrated people, some holding kombucha and eviction notices at the same time, trying to make sense of how everything got here. That's the kind of picture Joe Rogan builds through his breakdown. People left wondering where the solutions are actually coming from and why things feel so disconnected. Traffic becomes its own strange artwork. It doesn't even need extra exaggeration. Confused visitors, constant honking, and long-delayed commutes turn every freeway into a slow-moving parking field. Meanwhile, officials keep repeating the same promise: we'll fix it. But the fixes often lead to even more unusual ideas like stricter carpool rules or expanded bike lanes, ideas that feel as unlikely as a squirrel trying to solve a logic puzzle after too much caffeine. His humor turns the entire situation into something like a living cartoon. Drivers look overwhelmed, delivery drones are imagined dropping avocados onto rooftops, and somewhere in the background, a statement claims traffic is getting better. The irony hits hard but still stays playful. Even everyday actions become part of the satire. People use sprinklers in protest of water restrictions, while leaders give speeches about conservation that sound like motivational talks aimed at plants. Through all of this, Joe Rogan pushes the commentary so far that it almost feels like a public awareness sketch. Funny on the surface, but still pointing directly at real frustrations underneath. There's also the cultural side of the chaos. In California, identity politics often shape public conversation in a big way. But when conditions turn serious, like worsening smog or ongoing emergencies, Joe Rogan points out a clear gap between big ideas online and what people are actually living through. He highlights a strange contrast: social media activism filling feeds with posts while the power grid struggles under pressure, stylish vegan cafes opening up right beside streets full of debris, and public demonstrations continuing even as evacuation orders are still active. In his imagined version of events, the message comes through in a very direct way. Posting online doesn't stop a wildfire. That blunt line is exactly why it sticks. It's simple, a bit uncomfortable, but hard to dismiss. His criticism feels sharp, yet playful, almost like a ninja style of humor that cuts quickly without warning. The idea he pushes is that many policies start to sound like they were designed by people more familiar with virtual worlds than real-life consequences. Meanwhile, ordinary residents are the ones left dealing with the results on the ground. Through all of it, Joe Rogan keeps circling back to the same core idea. There's often a wide disconnect between political performance and daily life, and his commentary uses humor to make that divide impossible to ignore. It all starts to feel unsettling. Joe Rogan then shifts his focus to social tension in the state, people protesting in the streets, firefighters stretched thin and running on fumes, while political leaders act as if everything is steadily improving, casually sipping drinks with motivational slogans printed on the cups. In his imagination, Gavin Newsom steps up to give an uplifting speech in front of an angry crowd. Around him, people hold signs like "Where's our water?" and "Potholes eat children," turning frustration into exaggerated but memorable slogans. And somehow, the whole scene spreads even faster online, gaining traction across short-form videos and social platforms, making the chaos feel even more amplified. The situation keeps stacking layer upon layer of absurdity, and Rogan's style of storytelling captures that strange mix of humor and tension as it builds. He returns again to the governor, pointing out how official statements, press conferences, and policy promises can feel polished on the surface, but get torn apart when compared to real conditions on the ground. In his version, you can picture him leaning back with a coffee, watching it all unfold while California continues its downward spiral in the background. And then comes the final punch of irony. A place once known for wine tours might slowly start feeling more like it's offering disaster tours instead.